What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to the 39 Days podcast with Alex and Andrew. I'm Alex. That is Andrew.
What's going on, everyone? Alex sounds amazing with his voice today. We are here after about a 2-week hiatus, but we're back.
Yeah, we're back. Had some stuff going on the last couple of weeks, so we weren't able to put out anything for episodes 5, 6, and 7 because last week was 2 hours long.
One person went home. It's a single episode.
I guess that's fair.
Yeah.
But yeah, for this one, since last week was the faux merge, I guess you could say, it's going to be a little bit different, where we're just going to be pretty much previewing the last half of the season because, last 2 weeks we don't want to just spend time talking about stuff that has already happened, that everyone already knows has happened. So just kind of do a quick rewind what happened the last 2 weeks and then kind of give our thoughts on what we think is going to happen for the back half of the season. So, Andrew, last 2 weeks, the people that went home were both from your fantasy team. How are we feeling about that?
It's par for the course at this point, right? I felt really good about the team that I drafted at the beginning of the season, and I still like them all, but it's just been a product of the game. And I think part of what we talked about in previous episodes were, it's biased for me to say the people voting don't really know what they're doing, but it just seems like a lot of these eliminations are, oh crap, we got to eliminate someone tonight. Let's pick them. And I'm usually the one taking casualties every week. I still like a lot of the people who I originally drafted, it just hasn't really fallen in their favor. But I still got my number one and number two picks, or I should say the two people I was most excited about this season. So I got that going for me, and I'm ready for the upset. I'm ready to get this trade back on.
Because at this point, if there's going to be an upset, you can only lose 2 more people, which means I have to lose 7. So
is it 3? I thought I had 4. Is it 3?
No, you have 3 left. It is 8-3 right now.
Wow.
So if they do final 3, which I can't imagine they won't, you got 2. You got basically 1 person left that you can lose right now. Out of your final, the 3 you have left are Marianne, Drea, and Lindsay.
And hi, you have Lindsay.
No, you have Lindsay. I picked Lindsay to win, but you have Lindsay on your team. And I have High on my team.
That's where the crossover is.
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. Okay.
Yeah, and then everyone else on my team. So I'll put right about now, I'll put a little graphic up of what our teams are looking at right now. But yeah, as of right now, Andrew kind of drew the short end of the stick in every single way because I have not lost someone since the premiere.
Right. And I think I was going to say, it's been 6 eliminations in a row.
Mm-hmm.
But look, at a certain point, there's so few numbers, and unless there's an obvious target to get these 3 people out that I've left, which I'm not so sure there are, by process of numbers, the score should at least level a little bit before I start losing some more people. But no, my luck, they'll be clean sweep by first week of May, and then it'll just be a laugh at the championship for you.
Yeah, just by the numbers, there's going to end up with 3 people for the season. So obviously I am going to lose at least 5 people. But right now that's looking less likely as if each episode that happens.
Yeah. So just obviously the last 2 eliminations, we lost Daniel and then Lydia last week. Both of them, again, very, I don't want to say, I think Daniel was the most boring vote just because nothing really happened. We were kind of begging for some kind of upset or
Daniel, to me, voting him out seemed like
it was a lazy pick.
It was a lazy pick, but at the same time,
he ruffled feathers the week before, and they were just I don't want to deal with this.
No, that seemed more to me like the old school pick. It wasn't very strategic at all. It was just kind of nobody really trusted him. He was weak in challenges. Everyone just kind of went, you know what? He's got to go. He doesn't really deserve to be here anymore. He's just been kind of the weak link this whole season because, to his defense, he did dislocate his shoulder about 14 seconds into this season.
Yeah. And of course, the big talking point from that episode that obviously we didn't get a chance to react to because we didn't get a chance to drop a podcast last week, but Mike caught a stray vote. We found out it was from Chanel. And there was a little bit of like, what's going on there? Similar to how Roxroy voted for Lindsay this week. It just like a little, well, Chanel's was more strategic, right? Roxroy's was
Chanel's was 100% strategic. Roxroy's was because I don't think he has any idea what's going on, and he's really not a part of any alliances at all.
But how many people caught votes at the first quote unquote post merge tribal?
So it was Lindsay got one.
Sorry, LYNZE.
LYNZE. Yeah. I'm sure. Let's go with that. Obviously, Lydia got the majority. Marianne got some. And off the top of my head, I don't remember. Oh, Jonathan. Jonathan got one. Which, to me, they had a prime opportunity to take Jonathan out. And everyone was considering doing it. And I don't understand why there wasn't more votes for him.
Yeah, I think the way people are aligned right now is no one's quite clear about where they stand in the game, which is very I kind of like, because it means that the next few eliminations are going to be wild and unpredictable.
Yeah, they're going to be chaotic. And I think, honestly, I'm going to give 100% of the credit for Jonathan getting 1 or 2 votes this past week to his social game, because he has so many people that are on his side and like him, to the point where they didn't want to vote him out just because they knew he's such a big threat in this game. So I really think that's the reason he wasn't a bigger target this past week.
The question is it just one of those, yeah, we'll get him out. Eventually we'll have the numbers and we don't need to do it immediately kind of thing? Or is he actually going to be one of those wild surprises where he's an obvious first post-merge elimination and he's sitting there at final 5, final 6 and still in good graces? I think it's still to be told.
I think if there's any type of physical challenge for immunity, I think it's his to lose. This past one was the one that they've been doing for probably the past 15 seasons or so, where you have the rope and you stack the blocks on the platform where you have to balance it using the rope and stuff like that. And that's more of a concentration strategy type of thing. And Lindsay straight up said to, I think it was Chanel and maybe Mike, or maybe it was Drea, one of those two. Oh, no, it was definitely Drea and Romeo, that Jonathan sucks at puzzles. So, which, I mean, I guess that makes sense. He's got to have some type of kryptonite.
Yeah, and a lot of these challenges post-merge aren't just straight raw power. There's a lot of dexterity involved, a lot of balancing, stuff like that.
Endurance stuff.
So, So I don't know how much of a true threat he will be long-term to win a bunch of individual immunities. But let's talk about this last challenge real quick, because one of your picks, who I don't think either of us were really all that high on, and say what you want about the kind of social game she plays and the way she's kind of been, I don't know, flight. Fire. I don't know if flighty is the right word, but yeah, she's definitely ruffled some feathers. But in that challenge, Tori's a baller. She could get stuff like that done. I was surprised.
I think Tori's stock has risen considerably, every episode since episode 1, where we weren't sure whether or not she was going to make it past the first tribal, and it ended up being Zach going home. But she was under a lot of fire just because of the whole her going and looking for an idol, and everyone just immediately
I could totally see her kind of getting a Mean Girls type alliance going, and not just with girls, but that type of bullyish kind of clique. I know that's not the right word, but you kind of know what I'm saying, right?
No, I get what you're saying.
She shouldn't have power in this game, but I could see her pulling together an alliance that suddenly takes the throat of everything.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be anyone. It wouldn't be anyone from never going to learn the names of these tribes in this season. Blue Tribe, the group of her, Roxroy, Romeo, and Drea, they were so divided as a group that I don't think her alliance would be any of them. She is going to have to form, relationships with everyone else. But I
Right.
think she physically can. So if she
Right,
manages to
right.
do that, she's going to be in a much better position. And I think that's kind of the key to the rest of the season, where she could be the person that's voted out on Wednesday.
She could be, or she could win.
Or she could win. Yeah.
And there's only, I would say, 3 or 4 people left who you could see them like definitively finishing
Yeah.
the next person out, or the winner, unquestioned. And everyone else is kind of floating, and they could end up in any of those spots, but like they're more in the middle.
There's 3 or 4 people right now that, like you said, if they are not voted out on Wednesday and they make it to the end, they could win. And I want to say Jonathan's obviously one. Tori's another. I'd say Mike is a little bit of an underdog for that.
Mike's given me a lot of.
I think he's played a better.
Like he kind of plays like the Danny role of Survivor 41.
Yeah, but I think he's played it. He's played it more of a social game than he has that Danny did.
Yeah, the only difference is in luck. This is where the game's really going to pick up, and we kind of stalled out. In season 41, we were mad because there was like obvious blindsides that weren't being capitalized on. In season 42, I think we were a little more frustrated just because the moves didn't seem to have much purpose to them. But the game is positioned very well to have that all come crashing down in the next few weeks. Like you have 3 people with freshly minted idols because Drea was able to activate it. Finally, Mike was going to bite his lip. He eventually dropped it. I think he posted something on his Instagram or his Twitter, like the night of that episode. It was like, there's so much beauty in the game of soccer. It was him on a soccer field with the jersey. Like he played it up so well.
Yeah.
So Drea, Mike, and Marianne all have idols. No one has true tribal alliance from the pre-merge game, and everyone's willing to work with at least half the people still in the game. So there's going to be a lot of, I think like osmosis is a good word, which people just kind of passing around between barriers. Like that's kind of how the game's going to play out.
I think this season is going to be different from the majority of ones we've seen, just because I don't remember the last time we had one that after the merge, everyone just kind of split their own ways. And that seems kind of what happened this time, because we literally saw Hai, who was aligned with Lydia since day one. He voted for her last week, which was crazy to me. But I really think this time they just kind of realized that it's 4-4-4 going into the merge. We got to play for ourselves because tribal lines are not going to do anything. They're even, if it was last season, we saw the tribal lines be very obvious because it was 6 Luvu, 4 Yasa, and Shannon Ricard. And then they kind of just formed together. And that's what we kind of were so angry about, was because Shannon and Ricard were just taking over everything when they were the 2 that were the easy pickings.
Yeah, and I think you're going to have a lot of pairs in this season. The only tribe I can see, well, the original tribe that it could potentially work a threesome is Taku, just because I could see Jonathan working really well with both Lindsay and Omar.
Yeah.
But everyone else seems to have like one person they're willing to work with, and then a bunch of people who they could, if they need to make numbers work. Like on the Ika tribe, I don't know exactly who is like super tight with Roxroy. I don't
think anyone is, honestly.
I think if I had a necessity, they need to use him. They're happy to work with him and vote with him. But I don't think he has like we talk about how pairs in this game have always been so dangerous. Well, I don't think there's like a power couple in this game, but there's going to be a lot of pairs that will work together and determine the outcome of the game, but not like one that'll rise above everyone else.
Yeah, we're not going to see, a Boston Rob and Amber go to the end of the game and wreak havoc on everything, because there's been no real set in stone, this is the person to beat. Jonathan is obviously the person to be right now, but he hasn't exactly been built up as this god who is, going to be the
Well,
all
he
I know.
has, but for his
He
physical show, it's
has,
not
but they've
anything.
also shown a lot more. Like earlier
Yes.
seasons, for people like Jonathan who were, dominate in every aspect of the game, that was the focus. Just think about the season, Russell Hans's first season. It was Russell Hans and then a few other people. Where this one has done a very good job of showing how strong Jonathan is, but also giving a lot more screen time to everyone else. And I
Yeah,
think
and I
that's
think part
kind
of
of a
that is probably criticism for them
yeah,
not doing that in the past. Part of them is them really liking their cast this season, so they want to make time for everyone else. But I agree that whether it be editing or just because of that's how everyone is where they all stack up against each other right now, is that you're right. There's a lot of more attention to be spread around.
yeah, exactly. Which is a good thing, Like you want to see everyone in the cast. You don't want to just see the same 3 or 4 people, and
Mhm.
just you don't want to make it to the merge and go, oh yeah, they're still there, And that was kind of what we thought with everyone on Louisville last year. Not last year, but last season. Technically, it was last year. Anyways, um, because one of the biggest criticisms from last season was the fact that Erica won and she got like 2 minutes of screen time in the first half of the season until she had to make the hourglass decision. And then that was like the first big Erica screen time that we had. And that was when you kind of got to know her. But other than that, she didn't do anything, you know?
Yeah. And maybe it's just because she didn't do enough to warrant that much attention earlier on in the game. And she even talked about that in a lot of her exit interviews with Entertainment Weekly and whoever else, that part of her strategy was to just lay low. So maybe there really wasn't much material to put on the weekly episode. But I agree that you have a lot of different strategies that are varying from that, both the editing, but also the gameplay go forward. But look, I think it's at a point now where we've kind of really settled in. We know where everyone stands, and we teased it last week on the Twitter. But I think I'm ready for power rankings. Are you?
Yeah, I think I am. So if we start, in last at 11 for the 11 people that are left, I think it would be unanimous for who's in last in 11th place because I cannot justify putting anyone other than Roxroy in that place right there.
Well, again, remember that's it's definitely a subjective number. It's not where they are position. It's rankings. It's how
rankings, yeah.
we deem it. So it's not like he's bottom in the standings. Like it's just how do we think someone
it's how
a
we
chance
who we think has the worst chance of winning compared to the best chance of winning.
Right.
And
like
right now
there could be people who are very low on the totem pole, so to speak,
but we don't know.
But they may be back pocketing advantages too, so that inherently moves them up. So we got to take that into consideration.
Yeah, but I think right now, like I'm sticking with Roxroy at 11 just because he doesn't have any advantages. He doesn't have any alliances really. He just seems like the type that you take to the end because he's not really going to ruffle that many feathers other than Tori, and he's not going to really do anything other than be the good guy around camp that'll, keep everything going, keep the fire running, get food for everyone. But in terms of gameplay, he's really not going to do much.
Yeah, I agree. I think Roxroy, the only thing that he could carry into a final tribal, should he make it there, is, I smashed the hourglass. I reversed course of history.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, but how did that actually impact your strategy? Why did you do it? And I'm even thinking like a lot of people who were on the chopping block this week were so because he made the decision. So like maybe he moves that but he would have to then work with all the people he protected and be like, I drove that first tribal, which was the defining moment of the rest of the season.
Yeah.
That's really the only thing he could have going forward based off what we've seen so far. Now, certainly it could change go forward, but I agree that if we have to put people 1 to 11, he's probably at the bottom for now.
Yeah. Who are you thinking for 10?
10, I'm going to catch heat for this pick, but I'm actually going to put Mike.
Really?
And I just feel like he's kind of skating by right now.
So I will say that I'm not I'm not surprised by you saying Mike at all, just because from every episode we've done in the season so far, you've shown you're not that high on him.
Yeah,
You're
it just
not
seems
that
like
high on him.
nice.
Anyways,
Yeah, we're gonna edit this out, and then we're never gonna record ever again because of that. So thank you. No. But I I just sense this thing with Mike that he's there, and I don't know where he stands with everyone else. Sure, he's got an immunity idol, but he's got to play it correctly. He can't just be like, "Well, I'm going to get voted out this week, so I'm going to use it, and I'm going to get voted out next week." Like that doesn't do you much
yeah,
good. Uh, I think for now, that's where I'm going to put him. But my like 7 to 10 is very fluid right now.
yeah, same.
So good.
Yeah, no, I guess I agree. I like you said, I think 6, 7 to 10. You can kind of interchange everyone because I was thinking for 10, I was thinking Chanel. Just because she's made a lot more enemies than she has made friends this season. Because she on not Taco Vati. I'm getting good. I think. Green
That's
tribe.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. She was kind of playing both sides between everyone, and she got caught doing it. And because of that, no one really trusted her, which was why it was kind of between her and Daniel for the tribal a couple weeks ago until they ultimately went Daniel. But yeah, I think now that Lydia's gone, it's just Mike, Hai, and Chanel from Vati.
Mhm.
So,
And that's kind of like why, like, I'm gonna back you up there too. I'm gonna put Chanel at 9 for me, and it's part of like losing Lydia last week pushes the two main people in her tribe down. And High, as much as I want him to be higher up, he's not going to crack my top 3.
no.
So it's just a product of losing that first vote and having Lydia go. And I just feel like whatever momentum they could have started building in the last episode, they didn't really capitalize on. So something's going to have to happen big for them in the next 6 to 10 days on the island.
Yeah, they're going to have to. I think the group of Mike, Hai, and Chanel are really going to have to make some big moves if they want to somewhat take control, because they're kind of the swing votes right now. They're the 3 that they're outnumbered now. There's 4 and 4 on either side. So they could either just let themselves get picked off, or they could kind of be absorbed into the other groups.
Yeah, I don't see them getting picked off 1, 2, 3 because
I don't
see
either.
the other 8 all teaming up just because they say we can have the numbers. Because really, one of the 4 could absorb one of the three, and then you have a majority there too. It's 7 to 4. So
yeah, exactly. But because of that, I think we gotta go High 8.
Okay.
For the same reasoning with the other 3, because he's kind of in the same boat. He's also been caught in a lot of different lies, and he doesn't have that many allies yet. He's had a lot of conversations with everyone, at least he did after the faux merge last week, but I think he still has to work pretty hard to get into the good graces of everyone.
Yeah, it's unfortunate for him because he really did do a lot of good work, or what I thought was good work, in last week's episode, in having conversations with Romeo, with Drea, with Mike, with whoever else, right? And really trying to pull a lot of different people together. He seemed to be in a good spot. And then what happened? His closest ally in the game gets voted out.
Exactly.
Now, she was a target completely separate of the conversation he was having. And maybe the people that he was working with may still be long-term allies, but by doing that, he exposed his right-hand woman in Lydia. So,
yeah, I agree.
All right. So for me, we're at 7 now. You said, I think Romeo, and
that's what I was thinking.
And part of this is because I could see him making a big jump and getting up there fast. But it seemed like he tried to grease some wheels last week too, and didn't get a ton of traction. Now I know he was driving the ship on Lydia, but that seemed more like a backup plan than anything else. And then also, I'm a little biased in here with the foresight of what we saw in the preview of this upcoming episode. It did seem like they may have teased he might be in some hot water, so that's skewing my judgment a little bit. But that's where I think he stacks up right now.
So I think Romeo's a good pick for 7, not because of where he is right now, but because of what he could do in the future. Because if there's one thing that you and I both noticed from him this season, it's that he is very sneaky.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think he, like you said, he can definitely make some moves that would bump him way up in the rankings, or he could do something that makes him he gets caught and immediately just gets ousted. So I think he's kind of he's a major wild card right now.
Yeah, but that's really where you need to be at this point in the game. You can't be the definitive number one target, and you can't be the definitive GOAT. You kind of have to be in that, like, oh, cool, something could happen really big for them, or their entire game could blow up at the slip of one lip. And if it's the people who thread those needles are the people who generally win.
Yeah,
I think Erica was kind of right in the middle of our rankings.
She was proud. I want to say she wasn't any higher than 5 or 6.
Yeah, and then we did it 12 last year, right? So yeah, like that's usually what happens is we make these lists, but the game changes so much and evolves. And all it takes is one giant blindside to flip the entire game on its head.
Exactly.
And change these rankings. All right, so that's the bottom 5 of our list, and we got the top 6 remaining.
Top 6 remaining, and at 6, I think I'm gonna go with. I don't like it, but I'm gonna have to go with Omar.
Okay, that's exactly what I was thinking. I was actually hoping you would pick him because I didn't want to put him much higher than that.
Yeah, I don't want to put him higher than that, but I also feel bad because he's a very likable guy.
Yeah.
You know, he's told a lot of different stories so far. He has a relationship with a lot of people, and I like him as a person on this show. I think he was a really good casting choice. But he also has not done much strategically just because Taku has only voted one person out, which was Mariah, who was kind of, she was a little bit of I don't want to say a head case for them, but she was kind of their obvious pick to vote out for when they went
the
to
one person who is different than the rest of them.
Exactly. And then the other person that got voted out, didn't get voted out, but left was Jackson in the first episode.
And who knows where Jackson would be at this point in the game.
Yeah, exactly. So it's been the 4 of them together for a while. So Omar has kind of been the one that really has not, differentiated himself as a player. He's just kind of grown as a person on the show. So I think he's not exactly threading the line between a likable person and a good player. But at the same time, he makes 1 or 2 moves that, look good to the jury. He goes right to the top 3.
Right. And like you said, his alliance with Jonathan could either be a really strong asset for him or it could cripple him if Jonathan starts getting a bunch of heat. So similar to that end, we're at what, 5 now?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to put Marianne.
That's what I was thinking.
You could make an argument that she could probably be lower just because she's been very neurotic, and I feel like that may rub on people the wrong way. She does still have 2 advantages, though, which I think buoys her up to this spot, and I think we need to be cognizant of who has advantages at this point left of the game when we craft the final 4. But Marianne's got an extra vote and an immunity idol. She tried so hard for that immunity idol, and God bless her soul, it finally came through. But telling the bunny rabbit story, the second they got to a challenge for like 3 weeks in a row,
you gotta give her credit,
Yeah, it worked, but like I felt like there's no way that if other people on the beach haven't picked up on this. Now, granted, 5 other people on the beach and other tribes knew what she was doing because they read someone else on their tribe's advantage note or had it themselves, so they kind of knew what she was doing. But it didn't seem like she had a bunch of tact, and it seems like she's still. I love her energy and I love the attitude she has, but I think at some point that's going to catch up to her. So it's when the numbers start dwindling down. It's when she's finally going to have to.
So one thing she's shown is that she, like you said, her energy is unmatched. I can't remember a person we've seen that has had this much energy, just to be on the show. But the problem with that is I don't think she's very self-aware of the amount of energy she's showing. And we've seen a lot of clips of people like Jonathan just kind of not meshing well with that energy that she's showing, because not everyone can handle that. It's a
Right.
lot of just personality clashing. So, yeah, I think having her at 5 is about as high as we can put her, just because of the fact that she's going to have to become more self-aware and kind of rein it in a little bit if she wants to make it any further than that.
Yeah, I agree. And like we said, the advantages are what help her. And like maybe she surprises us and goes on a big run, wins a couple of immunities, makes a big game changing move at a tribal. But I agree, that's kind of where she needs to be right now.
Mm. And I think with her, I don't think there's any doubt in my mind that if she was to do all that and she was to win, watching her be announced as the winner would be one of the most heartwarming things we could
Oh,
see.
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. Um. So for 4, now we're doing the top 4. It's difficult because we're looking at our final 4 now. We have Jonathan, Lindsay, Drea, and Tori.
Yep.
And for
Which is
fourth,
actually crazy that I'll let you pick it, but go ahead.
I honestly, it hurts a little bit because I picked her, but I got to go Lindsay for 4th, just
Really?
because she
Okay.
hasn't really done anything. She's been
Okay.
aligned. She's in the same Marianne and Omar boat of hasn't done much to annoy anyone, but also hasn't done much to do anything, you know? So, and because there's not much to really say about her.
She has the amulet advantage, and that's
She has
really
the
it.
amulet advantage, which is, it's good. She has a good relationship with Treya and with High because of that.
Right, and right now that they're still in the game too, so all that is worth is an extra vote.
Exactly. But
But
yeah, I think right now Lindsay is 4 just because she's in a good position, not because of the game she's played so far.
it's so funny that as you're reading off the final 4, like I'm gonna put Tori at 3, and I kind of had a moment
Yeah.
thinking like I'm surprised she even made it this far. Now I think deservingly so in the upper echelon, just because she's the most recent person to win individual immunity, and whatever kind of shade and heat she was catching early on, she's kind of done a good job of bobbing and weaving. I could see it come rushing right back, and
Yeah.
she's voted out next week, right?
Well, we
But
said that earlier. Yeah, everything that's happened so far could come back and haunt her.
she's done a good job in the past few weeks of pivoting from what seemed like a dire situation to her to like now she's just comfortable. She doesn't have any advantages, but she knows she can win an individual immunity challenge. And like as long as she doesn't rip off 2 or 3 in a row and get seen as a physical threat, in which they immediately target her, I think she's in a good spot. So I'm surprised that we have Tori at number 3 in our power rankings right now, but
I think if you had
she
said
probably
after the
deserves
first
it.
episode, if you had said after the first episode, yeah. So when we get to the merge, Tori's going to be number 3 in the power rankings. I would have laughed.
Yeah, would have called you a liar.
So now that leaves Jonathan and Drea 1 and 2, and I would love to put Drea 1 because she has 3 different advantages right now, and she's played a very under the radar social game right now. But I think we have to put Jonathan 1.
I'm actually gonna play devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna
Really?
swap the 2. Yeah, I'm gonna play Drea at 1 and Jonathan at 2, but just for the sake of discussion,
That's fair.
I'll let you go first, and then I'll counter.
Yeah, I think Jonathan is 1 just because of the amount of hype he's gotten, because he has, established himself as one of the all-time most dominant physical players we've ever seen on the show. And people like that normally are immediately targeted and just voted out because everyone knows that they won't be able to beat them in immunity challenges. But he just lost the first immunity challenge. So he proved that he's not invincible. And I think that actually helped him, because if he had gone and dominated the first immunity challenge, that would have just made the target on his back even bigger.
Yeah, I don't know if I agree with that, because he either would have been gone and then we would have been in this conversation altogether, or I can't see him winning that first individual immunity. People being more scared of him or more intimidated by him than they already are. Like they saw what he did in the individual challenges. Like he beat the ocean one.
Yeah.
I don't know if winning any single individual immunity changes any of that at this point.
Like, yeah, I guess that makes sense.
In fact, I would say the counter can be true where the more he doesn't win, more people realize how he's not invincible. But I don't think adding more increases his ceiling.
You think he's already as high? He already has as high of a ceiling as he's going to get.
Yeah, I think he's kind of maxed out, at least that aspect of the game. Right? He could play a social game. He could pick up an advantage one way or another. He could coordinate a huge blind side, and that changes things.
Yeah.
But I'm actually going to put Dre at first because, like you said, she's absolutely loaded with advantage. She has an extra vote and a steal a vote and a full-fledged idol. That's a pretty good place to be. And I also really think she's played a pretty seamless social game right now. There was talk about flipping on her early, and then they turned on Swathi and sent her home. She's kind of been playing the middle ground in defense of Roxroy, where it's like, do we like him? Do we not like him? Is he too much of a bossy leader, or can we just like use him? She's worked that card well, and I think more than anything, the Jonathan aspect, where I think he kind of hit his ceiling very early on, and you saw him eating a way too much food at the reward last week. I think people probably noticed that. I think he's starting to get rubbed the wrong way by certain people, and now that every single week he has to go to tribal council, he had the luxury of not being in those conversations. I feel like that's going to wear on him. So that's why I'm just knocking him down a little bit. And and maybe this is me just like thinking I could subconsciously shield him, right? Like if he's not number one, he can go longer in the game because he's not number one on my list, which is obviously ridiculous. But and also I like just being different. If we
I know you made some good points with that, and I agree that he hasn't been handed the game, just because of the fact that he was so dominant physically in the first merge or the first tribal session of the season doesn't mean that he's just going to go on a run and win the whole thing.
He's and look, who knows if Jackson wasn't pulled from the game, maybe they lose that immunity. Like, what if he was first out? Like, I know it's irrelevant now.
That's completely hypothetical, but it could have happened. So, I think that's a really good point. Just saying that he has a long ways to go, and he's because of his position, he could be rubbing more people the wrong way than Drea, which I do agree with.
He gets frustrated. He gets like visibly frustrated. When people are like Marianne have too much energy, or when people don't really know like what they're doing and they don't have a firm plan before a vote. He just kind of says like, hey, let's just make a decision and let's go fish. Like he's very simple about that. And I can see the more this game ratchets up, which it has to by its own nature, the more it may rub on him and potentially expose a shorter side of him. I'm thinking. I could be wrong. I don't know.
Yeah. No, I agree. That's devil's advocate Andrew sometimes makes good points, I will say.
It's the only way I know how.
So I think before we wrap up, we should both kind of make some type of, I don't want to say hot take, but just like prediction of something that is very, likely that could happen, that if it does happen, we could both be like, got it. Not, Jonathan's going to win the next 10, all the next immunity challenges and win it, but something more not general, but like likely to happen.
All right.
Makes sense?
Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
You can go first.
I'm going to say that we're going to have an all-female Final Three.
Okay.
Predicated on the fact that I think Drea is playing a really good game, and I just she would have to really slip up to not get there, or be forced into using two advantages in 1 week, and then she's left severely less powerful immediately afterwards. But I think she's done a good job of working with Tori. I think she could pull in Lindsay. How many other women left in the game? Chanel's still in the game. And and Marianne.
Yeah.
Right. I think they kind of teased it, right? When it was Swathi, Tori, and Drea talking about it earlier. I'm like, oh, what if we do like a women's alliance? And they mentioned it, so it planted a seed in my mind. I feel like they'll come back to it.
All right, not bad. All right, mine is going to be that of our bottom three in our rankings of Chanel, Mike, and Roxroy, I think one of them is going to get a vote to win.
Okay. All right.
I don't think either of them will win, but I can picture specifically Chanel or Mike getting just being like a second or third place where they just get like one stray vote at the final tribal.
Okay, so it's not going to be Roxor making it as the goat dragged along to the end, and then someone gives him like a, "Hey, I really like you."
Yeah, I
Here's a vote
don't.
kind of thing.
Right now, I don't think there's any chance he could get a vote just because he hasn't made a name for himself. But I could see Mike and Chanel, just getting someone's vote.
Okay. They would have to make it, obviously, but yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But I think that's it for our second half preview of Survivor 42. What do you say?
Yeah, it's a wrap. I'm finally at a point where I'm like very looking forward to the next few episodes. It kind of got stagnant for a while.
Yeah.
And I was swimming upstream as I was dropping people on my team left and right every week. But more so than that, it just felt like there wasn't a lot of edge in the eliminations. There wasn't a lot of spice and excitement. And we haven't really gotten a good blindside yet.
Well, and we talked about it. We were like, there's not a lot of strategy involved in a lot of them.
People are just surviving, which I get is the name of the show. But a lot of these votes are just like, hey, as long as it's not me, I don't care.
Yeah.
As opposed to like, let's make a game-breaking move. And I think we're primed for that. So I'm finally like getting the juices flowing again for that.
Yeah, me too. But so thanks everyone for watching and listening wherever you are. We'll be back soon-ish. We got some other stuff going on this week, so I don't know when the next time we'll be back is, but we definitely will be back in the future. So tune in then, and until then, we will see you.
Ciao.